beautiful. You just cut everything off, and then he has to back off, and then you can engage again, and then just cut everything off again. It's quite fancy. So let us take more questions. Assyrion says, how come he didn't research Blink with his Stalkers to make it more mobile? That would have helped push and blink up the Zerg's base and possibly having to go through the nest, right? Be real careful with Blink, because the reason Colossi are good is because they have that front line of Stalkers and they have a front line of force fields. The Colossi, in a sense, almost protect the Stalkers from the Lings, and then the Stalkers protect the Colossi from everything else. And then that way the Colossi can shoot things from a gigantic distance. If you end up blinking, the big reason Blink is great in a battle is if you need to get into a specific area of units in the battle. So, for instance, if there are Vikings shooting my Colossus, I can blink right up to the Vikings and shoot them down. Or let's say there was a neural parasite on one of my Colossus. Then I can blink up to the Infestor, kill it off. Or, let's say my Stalkers are trapped. I need to blink them back to the Colossus. Generally not good for bouncing into the base. And I think that that's an important thing to note, not to get too over-eager about where you can blink, because there's a lot of players who are just, they're like, oh, I can blink everywhere, and then, like, any opportunity, every time there's a ledge, they're like, I'm blinking up there because I can. I played the Sorceress in Diablo 2. I know the power of this. So, of course, they pop up there. Their Colossi fall, and then they have a bunch of naked Stalkers that are about to get overrun. So, I would steer clear from that a little bit. Blink, I love. I have a personal affectation for it. That might be better after you get, like, your third base up or something like that. But I don't think it necessarily would bolster your push, necessarily. It would bolster a little bit of cutesy-dootsy stuffs. So, Slipspace says, Dear Day 9, the beta is about to go offline for 2 weeks, then most likely again before the game is released. How completely insane will you go trying to play Brood War to fill the gap? I want to state right now, Day 9 Daily will be still happening 5 days a week during the offline period with StarCraft 2 content. How do you say? Oh my goodness, Day 9, how? Because I beast it up and make sure I have lots and lots of content because I want to keep everyone happy. So the real question is, will you guys go crazy? Goodness no. I'll be still on 7 days a week. So let us take more questions. I think the content portion was just slightly shorter today. So, of course, the question portion will be a little bit more bulgy. So, Storm327 says, Day 9, do you think that going for a Stargate instead of the second Robo in order to get Phoenixes to counter the Corruptors would have won White-rA that game? Now, this is an interesting question because it's one of those things that makes sense on paper. I don't deny that what Storm327 says seems great, right? We can get our Phoenixes. We're shooting the Corruptors are shooting the Phoenixes, and the Colossi are there to just cut everything up. Yeah. But the big problem with that is that if you have, like, okay, I'm going to get these units to counter that, then I'm going to get these units to counter that, then I'm going to get this unit to counter that, you end up with this really small army where individual portions of it are great against other specific units. But what happens is your opponent just gets a shit ton of stuff and just kills you. So, for instance, if a player starts making a lot of Phoenixes to try to bolster it, and that's the game situation that we saw, Zerg's already set up all these bases, he's already gotten the chance to macro, he can have plenty of Corruptors up so your Phoenixes really can't do any harassment. They have to pull back and just be part of your main army, else Corruptors will take them down. There's already plenty of Hydralisks positioned everywhere. Everything's linked up with creep. Again, the Phoenixes can't do anything else. And then your battle comes out, and instead of 5, 6, 7 Colossi, you have 2, 3, 4 Colossi. And you have like these 5, 6 Phoenixes that, sure, they'll maybe kill the Corruptors, maybe not. But then you just have a very weak versus ground army, and that's dangerous. Really, like, 4 Colossi are way better than 2 Colossi. It's not like 4 Colossi are twice as good as 2. 4 Colossi, thanks to the fact that they can like rip through stuff from such a huge range, really makes their power unbelievable. Like they're great units in big numbers. And so anything that cuts into that is going to severely wound your anti-ground forces. However, this is still a valid question. What about Phoenixes to deal with the Corruptors? Again, I saw Ace do this quite effectively. He did the 10-gate thing, he early expanded, he walled himself in and made 2-3 cannons at his front. But then he went for 2 Stargate Phoenix, and he got a lot of Phoenixes really fast. Before Zerg had all these expansions and had all this creep, before Zerg had all these Corruptors, before Zerg had Hydralisks everywhere, was really getting in Zerg's face with like 12 Phoenixes when Zerg only had a handful of Hydralisks. So those would get lifted, taken out. And in the meantime, Ace got 2 robotics facilities, started making tons of Colossi, started getting some Stalkers, not too many, I mean really just a lot of Colossi, expanded to his gold, Zerg still was dealing with all these Phoenixes, and then when Ace moved out, he still did have this smaller, big force, like his main army didn't have the 7 Colossi, it had more like 4 or 5. He had a pretty decent number of Stalkers, he had a pretty decent number of Sentries, and then he had all these Phoenixes left over. But because the Phoenixes had battered Zerg so badly early on, Ace was in good shape during those early pushing stages. And he could get a mothership, which he totally did. And this is, of course, way back when you could force field glitch on vortexes. So if any of you don't know what I'm talking about, it was Ace against a Zerg player, and the Zerg player sent in huge stream of units, was maxed, like literally maxed. And this is before roaches actually cost 2. So there were 80 roaches, 80 of them, and Hydralisks and Corruptors and everything, and they all move up, and Ace casts Vortex, and they all get sucked in, like 100% of the Zerg's army. And then Ace threw a ring of force fields, and then threw down 2 or 3 force fields on the Vortex. The Zerg's army popped up, the Colossus one-shotted, 0 roaches. 80 roaches plus a huge army to 0 roaches in one shot. How kick-ass is that, right? For any of you who are curious to see this in action, you should go to Starcraft Scientist on YouTube, and you'll get to see him there. Oh, and also, I have a YouTube account, youtube.com/day9tv. I have a Twitter, twitter.com/day9tv. In my archives is day9tv.blip.tv. So, yes. One last comment was about Sithed Blade said, Mutas suck as damage against Colossi. Corruptors deal so much more damage. I actually don't think that you should underestimate the value of Mutalisks at all. Because, again, yeah, Corruptors do more damage to massive units. I mean, they even say, like, does more damage to massive, which they may as well just say, does more damage to Colossus. But the Mutalisks are so fast, they can also shoot ground. So that this means that if you get in a huge battle and you kill off all his Colossi, but then you have Mutalisks, the Mutalisks can help clean everything else up. But if you have Corruptors, the Corruptors just kill off the Colossi and then go, and that's it. So I love Mutalisks as a choice to be very aggressive. Excuse me, if you're doing a lot of drops with Hydraling and moving Zerglings around for counterattack, you'll naturally build gas, then just build a bunch of Mutalisks and do more counterattacks and harass and try to pick off Colossi on their way. For an excellent example of that, watch Idra vs. Noni. I actually did that yesterday, where we get to see Idra bust out a bunch of Mutalisks, severely wound Noni's Colossi. So, that's going to be it. That's going to wrap up today's Day 9 Data. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. All of you fine gentlemen look very nice today. There was a few issues of bookkeeping I wanted to do. Oh yes, we'll be having a whole bunch of features on the little one. We'll bring them on the air, hopefully, assuming it's not too late in Germany, where he's from. It'd be like 3 a.m. his time, but what gamer doesn't screw up his sleep schedule during the summer? So, be delighted to have him on. So if you have any special requests for the little one, let me know. And in other great news, once I get this properly set up, all my videos will be re-encoded again. All 197 of them, I think, is how much I've done. I've done like 123 Day 9 dailies and like 70 tourney casts. But I'm going to re-encode all of them so you can get them on your iPhone or even the iPad. It's not, you don't need Flash. And then you can also get it on iTunes for download. So, and also you can seek in the videos. So, cool stuff coming up. That's all. Take care and see you later.